Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for November 11th, 2024. Coming up, the Bucks are down bad after losing 2 over the weekend. The Warriors are looking pretty good. Chet Holmgren might be out for a while. We've got our picks. We're looking at the NBA Cup next week. Huge show. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, S. Good morning, Zena. Wow, what another crazy weekend. We're in week 4 of the NBA regular season, and it seems like every single weekend right now is just packed. The schedule makers really front-loaded the schedule. It feels like either that or it's the parity and the competitiveness. I don't know, but man, just a lot of stuff happening every single weekend. And unfortunately for the Bucks, a lot of stuff happening for them in a negative direction. They lose a couple of games over the weekend. They got blown out by the Knicks Friday, and then they blew a 43-point Giannis performance, an 11-point lead at halftime to the Celtics. And guys, the Bucks are now 2-8. This is not good at all. And Zena, look, the vibes, when you lose, the vibes are never going to be good.
Right.
But the vibes for me, just they feel really, really bad. There were a lot of stuff in the game. Like there's some weird stuff with Giannis. It's not the greatest.
It isn't. And I'm very curious as to how they feel in the locker room as a collective. I've been actually listening to a lot of Giannis post-game press conferences because I'm curious, as the leader of this team, as a person that called for a lot of the changes or allegedly called for a lot of the changes you've seen with this team, how does he feel about continuously losing games that feel like they're winnable? So during the 6-game losing streak, it seemed that Giannis had a theme with everything he was saying. And it was around, are we moving in the right direction? Are we shooting enough threes? Are we being competitive enough? And most recently, after they broke that 6-game losing streak against the Utah Jazz, he felt like they had competed against the Cavs and against the Jazz. Then they went and got blown out by New York. And if you heard, he had an outburst after that. Yeah. He didn't feel like his team competed. He didn't feel like they were doing what they needed to be doing or, quote, moving in the right direction. Now, I'm looking at this game tonight last night against Boston. And if you look at the statistical breakdown of this game, it kind of looks like they were moving in the right direction. I mean, outside of 3-pointers, right? They had a better field goal percentage. They rebounded well. They outscored the Celtics in points in the paint. So I'm wondering, if you lose this game against the Celtics who put up 53s, and ultimately that was the reason why the Bucks ended up losing this game. Are you that upset? Are the vibes that bad? Or are you happy that you competed? I think now you have to look at the games ahead and see they're not the Celtics. These are winnable games. Are you going to move in the right direction and get wins?
Okay. So the 53s is certainly a part of it. And the Bucks definitely got to find a way to increase the 3-point volume. That is an issue.
They only had 32. It's not
That's it. That's not gonna work, especially against the Celtics. But the truth is, and we've kind of been on this since the preseason, Damian Lillard is a turnstile, the point of attack, and down the stretch in the game against the Celtics, he's just being hunted. And there's very little effort on the defensive end from Dame. So that to me is a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know that they blew a lead, a good first half lead, but I think that was partially because of the Celtics shooting. They just struggled in that first half. They got hot, and the Celtics have a way of figuring things out even when that jumper isn't going. And so when you get into a fourth quarter, hey, we got to out execute this team type of basketball game, the Celtics know exactly what they want to do on every single possession, and they are going to hunt Damian Lillard. That's been the MO pretty much all season against the Bucks. And especially if it's in a close game, if it's, even if it was the Cavs game or the Knicks game, whatever, they've been hunting Dame at the pick and roll, getting him switched on to whoever they want. And it's just tough because he has objectively been really, really, really bad on that end.
Worse than even normal.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so I think it's just about figuring out ways where you can do that. I know they made that lineup change, and you guys talked about Andre Jackson, him at the point of attack, maybe helping on the perimeter a little bit more.
Well, their young guys have actually been a bright spot for them.
Totally.
Ryan Rollins has given them solid minutes. AJ Green has been their best shooter, outside of Dame. I'm not going to take that away from him. But, so they've been some bright spots. But then again, talk about Giannis in the post game, but Giannis in the court. I mean, he has a run in with Jaylen Brown and kind of hits him with an elbow. The foot under Jason Tatum in the landing zone, which, look, I'm not going to say it was a purposeful dirty play, but it does seem to happen a lot. So, I don't know. Feels weird.
I'll just say that Giannis Jaylen Brown thing was extremely lame. Like corny. And it's not corny because I think Giannis is generally a funny, laugh.
It's a dad joke.
He does the dad joke bit, which is fine. Yeah. But not when your team stinks. That's the issue. Giannis has been incredible. You look up and down the box score. He is doing exactly what he needs to. But I think also based on what you were saying, Zena, about, that mentality and being ready, you need to kind of be prepared on the court and be focused on the court as well, because you can't be doing jokes on the court when your team is 2-8, man. Yeah. I don't see it, And
also, especially in that scenario where he just caught the guy with an elbow. I mean, it just, Jaylen
Brown was right to call him childish.
Yeah,
that was childish.
Rubbed me the wrong way too.
Just really quickly, I don't remember. Did the joke happen when the Bucks were up?
They were.
I'm just saying.
Very interesting point, Zena. I'm glad you mentioned that. Big news in my house. The Warriors looking really good. They beat the Celtics last week. We're not going to talk about the blowout against the Cavs because the Cavs are the best team in basketball right now, and everyone's losing to them. But they go to OKC, and Steph Curry does the thing that he does, but only they almost blew another lead because the Oklahoma City Thunder just never quit. The biggest thing from this isn't that the Warriors won. I mean, I think we all know now that the Warriors they're pretty good. But Chet Holmgren, 5 minutes into this game, Andrew Wiggins drives to the basket. They meet midair at the rim, and Chet takes a nasty fall and lands directly on his hip and has to leave this game. As they are already light in the middle. Hartenstein is out, their big signing from the summer. The other Jalen Williams is out. I mean, Kenrich Williams is out. I mean, their two hurt centers helped carry Chet to the back. I mean, this is now a mash unit for the team that we thought was going to have all this depth, especially in the middle.
And we just got the update that Chet Holmgren suffered a right iliac hip fracture, and a return to play protocol will be provided in 8 to 10 weeks. So just really brutal news for the Thunder.
Not great news.
They had, for very large portions of this game, they were running 5 guards out there.
Yeah. Alex Caruso was essentially playing the 5.
Basically.
Now, you can do that against the Warriors. The problem is, though, you run into Nikola Jokic. You run into Anthony Davis. You run into Zach Edey. I know, Zena, I'm just throwing your guy in there. But,
I love that for you.
It gets tough because they are, and luckily, look, a lot of what they do defensively is predicated on that ball pressure on the perimeter, having all the octopus
forcing
arms
turnovers,
out there, and so there's a world in which you can see them. Maybe they're going to generate turnovers to make up for the rim protection, but man, that's going to be tough. That's a hard way to have to play defense every single night. Zena, I want to hit the Warriors before we go to break because again, 8-2, Steph Curry, putting Oklahoma City to sleep at the end of this game. You're as close to the team as we can get on this show. So, what's been the magic? Is it Steve Kerr? Steve Kerr's coaching his butt off. Let's just say
let's say that. Steve Kerr's coaching his butt off, but also his surrounding cast, Terry Stotts, Jerry Stackhouse, they've been killing it in their respective roles. And really, it just feels as if the team is so bought in a different way this year. And what's really characterized by that are the adjustments you continue to see in every single game. One of the worst stats for the Warriors throughout even all these wins that they've had is their start. They have had so many slow starts, so many starts where three or more players are having 2 or less points in the first quarter,
game, right?
Exactly. It's like you can't have 3 players with zeros to close out the first quarter. What did you see against OKC? A faster start. One big change you saw, big adjustment, DeAnthony Melton. He was like the darling in the preseason for the Warriors, and he showed up tonight, rebounding, shooting. I mean, literally a spot up shooter. You needed a 3, you needed a mid range. He was there. Just deflection, just activity.
Steve Kerr said he's the starter. He's the starter now.
He's established. I mean, it makes sense. He pushes the pace, and he's also a big guard, which is great for them on the perimeter.
Also great defensively, right?
Exactly. So it's exciting to see the Warriors not be the team that you saw them be last year, which is if they get down, they're going to stay down. Or if they get up and they lose the lead is lost, right? They held off a very capable defensive team in OKC. Top defensive team in OKC last night. And it was really impressive to see, okay, they've turned a little bit of a corner. You're going to continue to see these positive adjustments for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're really good. I saw this coming. So, of course, no, I'm just kidding. I've actually been really pleasantly surprised by how good they are. I thought they might be this good, but man, Steve Kerr is pushing the right buttons. It's been a lot of fun to watch. Coming up after the break, we have to talk about the Cavs, who are now 11-0, and Nikola Jokic is probably the front runner for MVP again. Sorry, S.
Probably.
Again, it was just a crazy weekend in the NBA, and there was so much stuff happening. I didn't get to see everything. So I was asking these guys, just help me catch up on some stuff I might have missed. Zena, what was your favorite thing from the weekend? What was like the best thing you saw this weekend?
I'll say the best thing I saw this weekend was League Pass. Shout out to the whole platform, because being able to see 4 or so games all at once is wonderful. But there's so many games that we're missing these like super cool matchups. We're seeing teams that probably aren't the marquee teams fight and really battle to the end. Literally last night you saw Jalen Green yam on Cade Cunningham. And apparently those two have a little bit of history. A little bit of beef. A little bit of beef, just a little bit from back in the day. So it was really cool to see the Rockets, even though they ended up winning 122-121 over the Pistons. Very great matchup between two young teams with a lot of talent on those rosters. I mean, over 28 games this weekend, 10 games were decided within 6 or less points. Wow. And also in clutch minutes. Like it was surreal.
We got a LaMelo Ball game tying 3 to send it to overtime where he's falling out of bounds. And then Paul George does the Gatorade commercial at the other end. It was terrible. It was awesome. It was awesome. You've been plugged in on the Cavs. You were talking to me about how high you were on the Cavs in our preview before the season. So now they're 11-0.
Yeah.
Why? Like, what is it in your mind that's actually driving this thing?
Man, it's interesting you say that, because before the show, I was kind of digging into the numbers to see what exactly it was. The defense has always been there for them, right? They're 9th in defense right now, and they've always been a top 10 defense with the Evan Mobley, Jared Allen pairing. That's we already know that about them. It's the offense that's been surprising. They're the number 1 offense in the league so far this season. You mentioned the 11-0 start, first time since 2000 that a team has done that. 12th team in NBA history that has done that, which puts them in a historic category. Of those 12 teams, 6 of them made it to the NBA Finals. 3 of them won it all. So, like, there's...
Let me ask
I don't know how much. What the percentage
of shooting, though? Like,
it is.
We kind of keep saying this over and over and over. It's like a 3-point shooting contest, essentially. Yeah. But like with the Cavs, I know that their defense is good. Like Jared Allen's rim protection numbers right now are really incredible. Like totally. He's up at the top of the league. We know about Evan Mobley and what he can do. But man, they are just shooting in a way that just, it doesn't feel sustainable. But I said the same thing about the Oklahoma City Thunder last year, and look at where it carried them. So, I mean, who knows? So you're telling me it's not just the shooting, or is it the shooting?
I think yes, the shooting is absolutely a part of it. We've talked about how much Kenny Atkinson has unlocked Evan Mobley.
They're moving
and I think
fast
that's part of the offense too, right? It's pushing in transition, it's grab and go stuff that can get him being like this monster in transition for them. But it's also Darius Garland, who is shooting the lights out this year. 47% from 3 so far this season. And if there was a person who would be like a comeback player of the year for me, it would be Darius Garland, because this man fractured his jaw last year, went through a lot of personal stuff.
He lost like 12 how much pounds. Weight? Yeah, 12
He
pounds.
lost 12 pounds in the middle of the season. And so for him to have a really rough year last year for the Cavs, bounce back in a major way, he's been one of the most clutch players in the league to start the year. I think he is such a massive part of what they do with everything that they want on the offensive end. And it's not just the 3-point shooting. It's him getting downhill, being like this quick twitch guard who can make plays, finish around the basket. That added 12 pounds of muscle back. It's helping him finish.
It was only muscle that he put back on.
Yeah,
he definitely wasn't eating it, and no donuts.
No trans fat. Yes.
I actually think the amazing thing is that they're getting, like, Donovan Mitchell is not taking over the offense.
Yeah, totally.
And Darius Garland, he always reminded me of Steph Curry because, he's so good off the ball, like defenses have to chase him and stuff. And I think that this version of the two-headed snake with him and Donovan Mitchell, it's really tough. And you think about how well that worked for the Mavs, having Kyrie and Luka in the playoffs. Just, you always have a guy who can get a shot just off the dribble, but then they both are really good off the ball too.
Yeah. And playmakers. They find their teammates. We have seen some remarkable passes from Darius Garland. No looks, being able to find his bigs. Like, it's also him cultivating the offense as well.
Did you guys catch Jokic? Of course you did. Of course you did. It's impossible to miss Jokic right now, who, you said the other day, KD would be your MVP, and unfortunately, he's going to miss some time now with this calf strain. But
it's okay, we can erase that.
Look, the Nuggets are 7-3 now. After we were so worried about them, we're worried about their depth, and the reason is because of Nikola Jokic. He had another game against Dallas. Again, another clutch performance where he hits the game winner. He's doing everything: 37 points, 18 rebounds, 15 assists. He's fourth in scoring right now. He's first in assists. He's first in rebounds. He's first in offensive rebounds. He's shooting 56% from three, which would be obviously the best of his career. The thing is, he had this wrist injury that stuck with him last year. His shot, he just didn't feel comfortable. This year, he's actually seeking it out. That's been the biggest difference for the Nuggets, is that Jokic has actually turned himself into a scorer on purpose now, where it's, sometimes he'd have games where he'd take like 5 or 6 shots. That's not happening anymore. And
he has to. Like, now
he has to. Yeah. But that's how they're winning. That's why they're winning. This guy, we're now 10 games through the season. This thing is flying. We're a month in. We're going to start seeing these MVP ladders, these MVP rankings. Any list that doesn't have Nikola Jokic at the top when we get this thing started is wrong.
It's funny because, like, we talked about voter fatigue so much with the MVP award, especially when it comes to Jokic, right?
Yep.
But now we're in a situation where I think this is the last way that he can win the MVP, which is he has to do so much more for his team. He has to carry this load that he probably has never. Yeah, exactly.
He has to obliterate the competition. Yeah. He has to make it so it's almost ridiculous for you to consider another person for this. Yeah.
And he's the best in the world, though, and he still looks like it. Coming up after the break, we're going to preview the NBA Cup with our Bet MGM picks of the week. All right, NBA Cup group play starts this week. We're all excited. We're actually going to be in Vegas for the semifinal and the final, so we're going to be locked in on this all year. Oh, yeah. It was fun last year. I will say this. The courts look better this year, guys,
back,
right?
Baby.
They are, and they're beautiful. They're actually beautiful this year.
I will, and the Timberwolves green court that looks like a green screen is going to be Photoshop magic. Jerome Chang is going to have a great time. But we wanted to focus in on the NBA Cup with our picks this week, our Bet MGM picks, brought to you by Bet MGM. And guys, I'm going to take the Charlotte Hornets over the Orlando Magic on the road. Look, the Magic offense has just been really struggling without Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
And the Hornets just have some vibes right now. There's something about them. They're scary. They're throwing haymakers. LaMelo Ball looks like one of the best point guards in the league. He's just been amazing to start the season. So I'm going to take the Hornets. I think that they've got a shot. A young team. This is what I think this in-season tournament is really built for. A young team to just kind of get hot and run through this thing. Why not the Hornets?
Well, I have another young team for you here, sir. I think this will be a very, very big theme of these picks that we have here. I have the Toronto Raptors beating the Milwaukee Bucks, who are bad vibes right now. The vibes aren't the greatest on the road in Milwaukee. The reason I say that is because, one, I actually think the Raptors have been pretty feisty and competitive in a lot of games, making things interesting. Even the Slam and Jam guys on Saturday were talking about how fun this Raptors team looks. And so I think they have an incentive to, by the way, win their first road game of the season. They haven't won on the road yet. They're going to do it during the NBA
This is
Cup.
an insane pick.
I know.
This is
I'm
insane,
leaning
but
into it, man.
I love it.
I'm leaning into it. Why not?
If the Bucks lose to the Raptors, we're having an emergency podcast about it. Zena, who's your pick?
And making that pick after they just lost to the Lakers like that?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
I'm leaning into it. Yes.
As you're right, we're leaning into these young, scrappy teams. And this is why, for the second time on this podcast, I'm choosing the Detroit Pistons over the Miami Heat. Yes, I want redemption, okay, because they lost to the Heat last time by 6. But secondly, because since that loss, they've won 2 games against 2 capable teams, the Lakers and the 76ers.
That's right.
I really like the way that they've been just battling out there. Scrappy, like I said, giving Detroit really that feel of Detroit. Underdog.
I love that you're doing the 10 cup snapping for the golf ball with Pistons over Heat, which we're going to get into play in. I can't, this is amazing, Zena. This is amazing podcasting. I love it so much. That's going to do it for today's show, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in. For Es Baraheni and Zena Keita, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.